The Life of Moses, as told from the Book of Jasher, Part 1. And in the 130th year of Israel's going down to Egypt, Pharaoh dreamed that he was sitting upon his kingly throne, and lifted up his eyes, and saw an old man standing before him, and there were scales in the hands of the old man, such are used by merchants. And the old man took the scales, and hung them before Pharaoh. And the old man took all the elders of Egypt, and all its nobles and great men, and he tied them together, and put them on one scale. And he took a milk kid, and put it on the other scale, and the kid preponderated over all. And Pharaoh was astonished at this dreadful vision, why the kid should preponderate over all. And Pharaoh woke, and behold, it was a dream. And Pharaoh rose up early in the morning, and called all his servants, and related to them the dream. And the men were greatly afraid. And the king said to his wise men, Interpret, I pray you, the dream which I dreamed, that I may know it. And Balaam the son of Beor answered the king, and said to him, This means nothing else but a great evil that will spring up against Egypt in the latter days. For a son will be born to Israel, who will destroy all Egypt and its inhabitants, and bring forth the Israelites from Egypt with a mighty hand. Now therefore, O king, take counsel upon this matter, that you may destroy the hope of the children of Israel and their expectation, before this evil arise against Egypt. And the king said unto Balaam, What dost thou say, Balaam? Speak thy word, that we may hear it. And Balaam said to the king, If it please the king, let him order all their children which shall be born from this day forward to be thrown into the water. And the king heard the words of Balaam, and the thing pleased the king and the princes. And the king did according to the word of Balaam. And Pharaoh called unto all his servants, saying, Go now, and seek throughout the land of Goshen, where the children of Israel are. And see that every son born of the Hebrews shall be cast into the river, but every daughter ye shall let live. And Pharaoh ordered his officers daily to go to Goshen, to seek for the babes of the children of Israel. And when they had sought and found one, they took it from its mother's bosom by force, and threw it into the river. But the female child they left with its mother. Thus did the Egyptians do to the Israelites all the days. And it was at that time the Spirit of God was upon Miriam, the daughter of Amram, the sister of Aaron. And she went forth and prophesied about the house, saying, Behold, a son will be born unto us from my father and mother this time, and he will save Israel from the hands of Egypt. And when Amram heard the words of his daughter, he went and took his wife back to the house, after he had driven her away at the time when Pharaoh ordered every male child of the house of Jacob to be thrown into the water. So Amram took Jochebed his wife, 3 years after he had driven her away, and he came to her, and she conceived. And at the end of 7 months from her conception, she brought forth a son, and the whole house was filled with great light, as of the light of the sun and moon at the time of their shining. And when the woman saw the child that it was good and pleasing to the sight, she hid it for 3 months in an inner room. And it was at this time, about 3 months from Jochebed's concealment of her son, that the thing was known in Pharaoh's house. And the woman hastened to take away her son before the officers came. And she took for him an ark of bulrushes, and daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein. And she laid it in the flags by the river's bank. And his sister Miriam stood afar off, to know what would be done to him, and what would become of her words. And God sent forth that time a terrible heat in the land of Egypt, which burned up the flesh of man like the sun in its circuit, and it greatly oppressed the Egyptians. And all the Egyptians went down to bathe in the river, on account of the consuming heat which burned up their flesh. And Bathia, the daughter of Pharaoh, went also to bathe in the river, owing to the consuming heat, and her maidens walked at the riverside, and all the women of Egypt as well. And Bathia lifted up her eyes to the river, and she saw the ark upon the water, and sent her maid to fetch it. And she opened it, and saw the child, and behold, the babe wept, and she had compassion on him. And she said, This is one of the Hebrew children. And all the women of Egypt walked by the riverside, desired to give him suck, but he would not suck, for this thing was from the Lord, in order to restore him to his mother's breast. And Miriam his sister was at that time amongst the Egyptian women at the riverside. And she saw this thing, and she said to Pharaoh's daughter, Shall I go and fetch a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Go. And the young woman went, and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said to Jochebed, Take this child away, and suckle it for me, and I will pay thee thy wages, 2 bits of silver daily. And the woman took the child and nursed it. And at the end of 2 years, when the child grew up, she brought him to the daughter of Pharaoh, and he was unto her as a son, and she called his name Moses, for she said, Because I drew him out of the water. And Moses was in Pharaoh's house, and was unto Bethiah, Pharaoh's daughter, a son. And Moses grew up amongst the king's children. This is the leap of faith.